Economics in a snack bag. Dive deep into the 2026 shrinkflation phenomenon, where surging inflation and trade barriers are forcing products to shrivel. Analyze a global trade battlefield impacting the wealthy, the middle class, the urban poor, and the marginalized. This article dissects the political dimensions of short-term populist fixes and explores structural solutions for long-term sustainability. Economics in a snack bag, when the world shrinks under the shadow of inflation and trade barriers. If we were to scrutinize the state of the global economy in 2026, the first thing everyone feels in unison is a terrifying erosion of purchasing power. The foundation of this phenomenon lies in a definition we know all too well: inflation. In economic terms, it is a state where the general price level of goods and services rises continuously over time, resulting in a fixed unit of currency being unable to exchange for the same volume of goods as before. The inflation calculations used by governments worldwide typically rely on the Consumer Price Index, CPI, which tracks a hypothetical basket of goods supposed to represent daily life. In reality, however, data from various research institutes suggests that official statistics often undergo technical, hedonic adjustments, the downgrading of value based on perceived quality, making the announced figures, such as 2 to 3%, feel starkly disconnected from the reality faced by shoppers struggling with much higher spikes in fresh food and energy costs. The link between paper statistics and our daily lives manifests clearly through a tactic known as shrinkflation, the reduction of a product size while maintaining its original price. This is no mere coincidence. It is a crisis spreading across the globe. Reports from U.S. research firms indicate that categories like toilet paper and snacks have seen net weight reductions of 10 to 15% over the past year, while retail prices remain stagnant or rise slightly. Statistics from multiple countries reveal that manufacturers favor this method over direct price hikes because it is a psychological strategy that makes the damage feel tolerable to the consumer. According to data from the Institute for International Economics, such subtle volume reductions allow manufacturers to instantly increase profit per unit by approximately 12%. It is a silent robbery, performed through beautiful packaging that hides a shrunken core. Beyond the reduction in volume, another silent threat looming over the quality of life for consumers is skimpflation, the practice of degrading ingredient quality to maintain existing price points. When production costs skyrocket to the point where simply shrinking the size is no longer enough to sustain profit margins, many manufacturers resort to altering their formulas. This might involve swapping real butter for vegetable fats, reducing meat content in favor of starch fillers, or utilizing cheaper artificial flavorings. The grim reality is that consumers aren't just getting less product for their money, they are receiving significantly lower nutritional value as well. This represents a subtle yet profound erosion of living standards, disguised within slight flavor shifts or hidden in the microscopic fine print of the ingredient list on the back of the package. Why foreign goods can compete with lower prices. When we look deeper into the tax policies and subsidies provided by major world governments, we find the answer to why foreign goods can compete at prices significantly lower than those produced domestically. The fact is, many nations utilize indirect subsidies and export tax rebates to propel their products into global markets. Trade policy analysis reports indicate that manufacturers in certain global powers receive preferential access to low-interest capital and subsidized energy. When combined with tax benefits under various free trade agreements, the total landed cost of these imports becomes cheaper than the actual cost of production in domestic markets, which must shoulder higher minimum wages and local excise taxes. This is not a fair race. It is a battle against the national budgets of global powers ready to bet their entire treasuries to seize long-term market share. The impact of this economic storm does not strike everyone equally. For the high-income group, where food expenditure accounts for less than 10% of their earnings, shrinkflation is merely a minor annoyance, managed by shifting investment portfolios into assets that grow alongside inflation. This stands in stark contrast to the middle class, trapped by fixed incomes but variable expenses. They are forced to sacrifice surplus satisfaction, such as travel, to maintain basic consumption levels. Meanwhile, the urban poor, who buy small quantities on a daily basis, suffer the most. bearing a poverty tax due to higher unit prices on smaller items. Lastly, the marginalized rural poor face not only shrunken goods but also the burden of soaring logistics costs driven by global energy prices, making access to nutrition and quality of life harder than ever. Political dimension. In the political dimension, the phenomenon of high costs, low wages has become a goldmine for politicians crafting policies to boost popularity. We frequently see the use of short-term subsidies, such as fuel price caps, cost of living cash handouts, or various half-and-half payment schemes to alleviate immediate distress. While these policies may dampen public dissatisfaction in the short term and secure quick political points, in economic terms, it is akin to pouring gasoline on a fire. These subsidies fail to increase productivity and create a public debt burden for future generations to bear. This patchwork approach to problem-solving might win votes, but it never answers how we are to compete in a changing world over the long haul. If this situation continues without structural reform, the global economy risks falling into a state of permanent inefficiency. The way to mitigate this damage must begin with a transition from blanket subsidies to a serious commitment to the competitiveness of domestic producers. The state should streamline complex tax procedures and promote access to innovation to reduce production costs in the long run, rather than constantly chasing and capping uncontrollable product prices. Simultaneously, consumers must receive transparent information through unit pricing labels to truly empower their decision-making. Ultimately, consumers may feel they have the right to choose and the power to decide in their own best interest by selecting products that offer the highest price value. However, the answer in the consumer's choice is often not the same answer that domestic business units need. The paradox is that the more we choose cheaper foreign goods for personal survival, the more we may be undermining the lifelines of domestic businesses that employ people in our own nation. Perhaps the answer we believe is right for saving money doesn't actually answer the true structural question: how do we preserve sustainable wealth? The conclusion of what we see in shrunken snack bags or soaring prices is a grand mirror reflecting the clash between protecting national interests and business survival. Reports from the Tax Foundation estimate that stricter trade policies will increase the cost burden per household globally by an average of $1,400 per year in 2026. Understanding these mechanisms is not just so we can outsmart manufacturers, but so we realize that in 2026, wealth is not measured by the numbers in a bank account alone. It is measured by the actual volume of goods those numbers can buy amidst the crumbling walls of trade barriers and inflation.